Hello and welcome to the Mobile Accessible Games interview series. I'm your host, Aaron Spelker. Mobile Accessible Games is a group all about accessible mobile gaming, and through our interview series, we like to interview game developers about their methods and how they created accessible games. This week, we have Kevin Michaels from Rascal Magic, the creator of BardCard, and we're going to talk all about this really great, interesting, eclectic game. And Kevin, welcome. Thank you for joining the interview series.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, well, thank you. So, Kevin, what I always like to start with is just giving you a chance to, give a little bio about yourself. Who is Kevin Michaels? What is Rascal Magic? Just give people a little sense about who you are and how you got into creating mobile games.
Sure. Yeah, like you said, my name is Kevin. I'm actually one half of Rascal Magic Studios.
Are
My
you
other
are you
half,
the Rascal or are you the Magic?
I'm a little bit of both. We kind of share
Okay.
both
All right.
duties. But I co-run this with my good friend John, who's a childhood friend. I've known him since 10th grade, and we've just been doing a lot of creative endeavors over the years, whether it's music, gaming, writing, etc. So you'll be hearing a lot more about him as I discuss our journey. But about me. And gaming, lifelong gamer, interested, gosh, when I was maybe like 4 or 5, one of my very like a core memory for me is going to a friend of the family's house and watching somebody play Legend of Zelda and just seeing them in the labyrinth fighting these bats. And I'm like, this is on the television. They're controlling a scene. And it's like, this is so cool. Later
So
on,
what is that? Is that on the NES?
NES. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
we're dating you into what, the mid 40s. Is that about right?
There you go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was an
We can
avid,
age everybody, but what was their childhood game that they played?
exactly. No, I
So
love this.
I'm
So,
I'm an Atari 2600 as the first
oh,
memory to give you just a
ooh.
little.
I think I do have memories of playing, perhaps there was a bowling game on Atari, but that was a very, very long time ago.
My big one was Pitfall, and Kaboom. Those were
Ooh, okay.
the two big that I played. So,
I know about Pitfall.
yeah,
Fun.
yeah.
Yeah, no, my
Uh,
big ones are probably Legend of Zelda, Castlevania, Super Mario Brothers 2,
yeah,
pretty much anything Nintendo.
sure.
Somehow saved up enough money with my brother. I think we just had allowance. I don't know if we were mowing lawns at the time, but got a Nintendo, was hooked from there. Even from the beginning, I really liked kind of designing and creating games. I'd draw them out on pieces of paper, write out rules. I'd have my brother play them, much to his chagrin. Sometimes they were fun, but sometimes they weren't. So I just, I've always been a builder. Love Legos. Love just creating things. Um,
And
so
that led into a career in computers, right?
yeah, exactly. So I work for one of the larger tech companies as my full-time job. I do Rascal Magic on the side as part of my fun experiments. But yeah, I've been programming, writing programs probably since middle school, then all the way through college and beyond. Actually have a degree in English though. I'm not didn't really
Can't go wrong there. Can't go
yeah, I
wrong
did
with a degree in English.
exactly. No, it was there's a lot of I have a lot of interests, right? Whether it's music or I mean a lot of creative writing I used to do, not so much these days, unless it is for BardCard specifically. Um, but yeah, just had a lifelong passion to create games. I think the first games that I built that other people other than my immediate friends saw were Flash games. So kind of around the early 2000s, I used to publish some things on Newgrounds or God, there's a couple congregate, and got a little bit of traction there. And then, of course, life gets busy, and you've got to find jobs, move around, etc. But I've always had that passion, which kind of led me to where we are today.
Now, your career in computer is that in computer gaming, or are you at some other company, doing coding, but not specifically for games?
Yeah, not for games at all. No, it's one of the larger, more social media oriented. A web developer by trade, I'd say. So I've been doing the web since early 2000s. So a lot of what I do is web applications, etc. So I was able to take those skills though and apply them to gaming. So like even if you look at the game BardCard, a lot of it's kind of written based on web technologies. It's built in. We don't want to get too technical, I don't think, but it's built using web technologies in a mobile context.
You can get this. There's somebody who's interested in the technical
Oh,
stuff, so
all
you can go
right.
as technical as you want. And
I love it.
those who are not interested, fast forward 20 seconds. All right, so you're getting your gaming outlet by doing it on the side with BardCard. So I'm going to have you in a second explain what BardCard is, but this is the most strangely eclectic game that should not work but does. And I think in my review, I wrote it's like I decided to make a banana jelly Swiss cheese sandwich on rye bread. It's like it shouldn't go together, but somehow it does, and it tastes delicious. So, if you could try to explain, and I'd love to hear how you explain it, what Bard Card is for those who have never heard of this game and are really fascinated by my lead in here.
Sure. No, I love how you described it. It is strange. It's a card matching dungeon crawler. That's how I describe it to folks. So it's like you think of a like a match two, kind of like you pick up a card, you want to find what the other card is. And once you match these cards, events happen. So if you're thinking of like a dungeon crawling context, you might find some food because you're getting hungry, or you might find a weapon because the weapon you have is about to break. You might have to fight a monster or meet meet a wizard, create, go on quests, those types of things. So a lot of the game ideas I have, which I have so many, there's too many.
I think you
Bard
put
Card
them
takes a
all in
lot
this
of
game.
but a lot of them are kind of mashups. So, and I'm a big fan of role-playing games. I grew up playing like Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy, Luffy and the Fortress of Doom, just like all those types of turn-based games. So I like to take that concept and mix them with other genres. I know a lot of other studios do this as well, which makes me really happy. Before we wrote Bard Card, we actually wanted to build a game called Bard Cube, which is even more crazy. It's like a 3D tic-tac-toe dungeon crawling multiplayer. Anyway, we canned that and tried to make something simple with Bard Card. Attempted to.
Well, yeah. Well, let's see if I get everything in here. All right. So as you said, memory match two, match the card, find the other card. Add to that it's roguelike and that every time you play it's different. Add to it, it has RPG components where you're gonna put on armor and have change out your weapons and accessories and spend skill points to augment your character. Then it has turn-based combat and throw in there basically a minesweeper mini game for part of it. Did I miss anything?
I would say those are the core components, right? So yeah, each floor, if each room is just this board of cards, and then you match cards to advance. Some boards have different ways you can advance. So for instance, you can imagine a room that has a staircase, but maybe there's a door or two. So depending on what you match or what items you have in your inventory, you might be able to unlock a door, for instance, and go to a different board that you might not have to gone before. So there is replay in that you'll be kind of be going through this dungeon, and it's kind of mapped out, so it's not completely linear. But you might find something later on in the game, and you're thinking, "Huh, I remember." Coming across something where this item might actually work in this situation, and then you go back and maybe you're right. One thing about Bard Card is I try not to hold hands too much, so it's I don't give away a lot of secrets, but I've been starting to add a little bit more just to make the game more fun. We've been working on this game for gosh, 8 years at this point, and it's changed a lot over the years. But early on, we gave very little information about what the player was supposed to do. So we've taken a lot of that feedback and just kind of made it more understandable. So it's just this balance in my head. It's like we want it to be kind of mysterious, but also fun. And sometimes you can't, be in the extremes of both. So it's kind of like, yeah. How do we make this make sense to people?
One of the things that I think makes it really interesting. So, if you think of the typical match two memory game, right? The point is just, as soon as you can make a match, and clear all the cards off the game board. The thing with Bard Card is it adds this layer of strategy because you might find half of a healing fountain, let's just say, but you're like, I'm at full health right now. Let me just hold on to that and wait until my health is low, then I will match that card. So, it kind of puts in this strategy of don't just match everything as soon as you know you can match it, save certain things to match them later. And you don't necessarily always clear out every single card before you decide to, go down the stairs or go through a door. Sometimes you'll want to clear it all and save the door for the absolute last thing you do, but sometimes you might be like, look, I want to get out of here and I want to move on and skip to the next level. So it adds this layer that you don't see in a typical memory game. That again makes it not just a straight up match two. It makes it a match two plus, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, no, no, sure. Another strategy I like to use is if I'm just low on health or resources, just don't match the monsters. I'm like, I got to get
Right.
out of here. And I
Right.
know because I've played this floor before that the next floor has a weapon I can use. So I'm like, okay, if I can just hold off and there's a little bit of luck involved, right? If there's only a couple
Right.
cards on the board, you're like, which one had that goblin that I don't want to
Right.
match?
Right. Yeah. So that's what I find particularly fascinating on it. Now, for the people again, what is the so you're going down, well, maybe even say the story a little bit. Why are you in this dungeon and where are you trying to get to in BardCard?
Yeah. So, this is funny. So, when John and I created this world, we have this very large world outside of the game that we actually have released. So I always have to like think, okay, what do players know or what should they know outside of this context? So I love questions like this. So, the game starts and there's two siblings and they're playing a game in arcade. Your older brother has actually broken into this arcade. For some reason, it's closed and you go and you play this game, and the game that you're playing in the arcade is called BardCard. So there's a little bit of meta stuff going on there. So you're playing this game, or you're watching your brother play the game, and then he goes off. He wants to go get a pop, get a soda. He's thirsty. So he gives the controls to you. You start playing this game. Time passes. He doesn't return. So you're like, where's my brother? His name is Lucas, by the way. You're like, Lucas, where are you? You go wander off. You find a staircase that is usually locked in the arcade. The door is open. You look down, and then all of a sudden you're in this weird world. I won't give away too much about why you're in this world because that'll be part of the story as it progresses. But really, the main goal of this game is to get through this underworld in search of your brother. Like he's gone missing. You don't know why. You'll find him early on, so I'm not too many spoilers here. You'll eventually see him, but he seems apprehensive, like he does not want to be around you. So you gotta kind of uncover this mystery of who are these people living underground? What are all these monsters? Where are you? Is this even the same planet that you're on? Again, I'm giving away a little too much, but it's kind of like you're in this weird world looking for your brother. I would say is the primary goal that the players are exposed to right now.
Now, this really reminds me, again, dating myself, this might be a little bit before your time, but we'll see if you know it. Are you familiar with the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon?
Oh man, was there one where there were children and there's like an amusement park and there's like
Yes, and
a
they get sucked into the game of Dungeons and
yes.
Dragons. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay. Oh
exactly.
yeah. You're unlocking some crazy memories in my brain right
Yeah,
now. Yeah, I
yeah,
am familiar with that cartoon.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I
that's
can see
that has
this.
a very similar. As you describe it there, it has that's very similar.
I love it.
Feels inspired a little bit.
I love it.
Now, I will tell you that I love that cartoon as a little kid. Right, I randomly found it actually right before I lost my sight. So it's about 6 or 7 years ago. I found episodes on YouTube, and it does not hold up. It is best left in the childhood memory
Oh
as
no.
as a great TV show. So for those who
Oh.
love that and now know that it's on YouTube, do not watch it. Just love it as you remember it as a child.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it after this. I'm gonna.
Yeah, the cartoon animation's pretty rough. The acting's pretty rough, but
Sure.
so I would not suggest it. But remember loving that show. Just couldn't wait on Saturday morning. And then like as a kid, like maybe you don't understand actual time. So like I know when I wake up it's on, but like sometimes you wake up at 7 in the morning, sometimes you wake up at 8 and you've already missed it. So then you sit all morning waiting for the show to come on and it never comes on because it really was on at 7 and you woke up late. So I knew it was on Saturdays, but I didn't have a sense of time exactly when it came on. Yeah, so going way back for those.
Love
Some people will have already fast forwarded their 20 seconds past the question. So, all right. So this as I kind of told you before we started, the group that's going to be listening to this, who's following me, who's the founder of Mobile Accessible Games, which is all about games that are accessible for those who are blind and visually impaired on mobile devices, such as the iPhone. Um, where did you find out about accessibility? Did you just create a game and it happened to be accessible? What's kind of your background on ensuring that this game was accessible for those who might have a visual impairment?
Yeah. No, I'd love to tell you about my journey. Like I think I mentioned earlier, so I've been programming or building applications probably for at least 30 years. Again, dating myself even more. And Primarily on the web. And The web is awesome because it's this just kind of just big open platform. You can kind of create and be creative, and you don't really need that much. Like if you got like a notepad and some knowledge of HTML, you can kind of bang out some code, put it on a free host, and there you go. The whole world can kind of experience that what you've created. So it's always been just this cool platform. But early on, or just like even when you're learning, there wasn't really a big focus on accessibility. So it's like you're building something, creating a website, and a lot of times you'll just think about like how would I like this to be? Like how would I experience this? And you're not really, or at least I wasn't at the time, just thinking about other people. I started getting jobs in the industry. Even then, it really wasn't a focus. You eventually start learning about things like the alt tag for images, and then you're
Right.
thinking, okay. So folks, who have lack vision, can't see, they can experience an image by, having a description like, okay, that's accessibility. So I'm just going to do that and nothing else. So
Right.
still not really building accessibility in mind. It really wasn't until my current job, which has a very large focus on accessibility for tons of great reasons, that I really started to learn. So I've got mentors at my current job that teach how to build accessible products, and there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of different types of techniques you use for different types of disabilities. And Just it was really eye opening. I've been doing a lot of accessibility work at my current job for probably 6, 7 years by now. Well, never say I'm an expert. It's always a journey. There's always something new to learn, new approaches, new people to talk to hear about their experiences, take them into your own experiences, just to help you develop more inclusive software. So now when I think of the web, I'm like, it is a great place to create and be creative. And If you do it right, anybody can kind of experience what you've built, which is such a cool and powerful thing. So I took all those learnings from my job and brought them into Rascal Magic. So when we're building this game, I'm like, John, we're gonna make a game that whoever wants to play it, I want to make it so they can play it. And that's the goal. So it's always been there since the beginning.
I was going to
Wasn't
say,
perfectly
so
accessible. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, so a lot of people, built the game and then like hear about accessibility and have to kind of go back and do it, but you were already kind of aware of it right from the get-go. So as you started building the game, you were already thinking about, making the components accessible.
Exactly. So even just like the core idea, having it turn-based, so not having any kind of timing elements was a big strategy. Or just a big, I would say like building with constraints makes me more creative. And I don't mean constraints
Sure.
in a bad way. I just like, it helps me focus on what an idea should be. Things like choosing the framework and architecture for the game itself. So again, we can get to a little more technical again. I chose React Native for the platform that the game is built on. They have pretty great accessibility support. I don't think it's as good as native, because everything is a wrapper on top of like the actual, what Objective-C code it compiles down to, or whatnot. But it was a conscious choice. Like, hey, we want to build with a framework that actually notes accessibility, and it's been working out well for us. Even like the earliest components, like we really built just to make sure that they were labeled correctly, that they could be part of the focus order when you're swiping or different types of navigation. I will say this. So we've been working on this game for about 8 years, I think. So at the beginning, we kind of did everything at once. We're like, hey, we're gonna. So with React Native, you can compile down to iOS and Android. So we're kind of building both at the same time. We were building support for different localization packs, building everything accessible. and everything was just taking so long, and we're slow. We're two people working on this part-time, and we didn't even know if the game was fun. So we would start building and putting all this care into it, showing it to people, getting great feedback, and then having to change everything. So tear down all of the localization work, all the accessibility work, etc., and like change course. So it came to a point where we were working on this game for like 4 years or something, or five. We're just like, we have to release something. So we kind of put a lot of the other, basically we wanted to get something out to get more feedback than like our immediate family. So that at that point, like we just dropped the localization stuff. We started building things faster, which is sad to say, that weren't accessible. And then we released the game. But fast forward to, gosh, what was it? Maybe 6 months ago. Somebody came to my Discord and they're like, "Hey, is this game accessible? Like, I'd like to help people make accessible games." And I was like, I wanted to tell him yes, but I knew it wasn't true. So I'm like, no, please don't buy this game. It's in the roadmap. It's going to be better. But they bought it anyway. And they were like, hey, this actually isn't bad. And I was like, really? So I went back and I played it with voiceover. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess this is a lot of the older components kind of still stuck around and we're able. So since then, we kind of have a solid product. So I've gone back and, made labels. That was kind of the big thing. Just a lot of things were not labeled because we kind of put it out fast. But yeah, it's a journey, man.
I will say this, and I was pondering here because you mentioned React, and I know somebody else, some other developer that I interviewed a while back used React as well. So that's the second time I've heard
Uh,
that as a pretty good platform. But I wish I could remember off the top of my head which developer that was, which game that was.
oh,
Um,
was it Magic Academy? What is that game called? I think they use
Magic Research,
yeah, Magic Research. I think they're built on React
maybe.
Native as well.
Yeah, that might be. Um, now, the um, other thing that I was going to ask you was, um, as you kind of look at this game as a business, okay? So, I mean, you're spending your time, and you obviously want to see some return on this game. How do you decide? Here's what I'm going to set for pricing, or a lot of what I've heard from developers is, it's kind of like authors, like very few make real money on their first book. It's like they put 3 or 4 books out, and then over time different people like different books, so then they try the other books, and then it kind of starts growing as a swell. So you want to get multiple product out. You might want to have 3 or 4 games, and it's really that fifth game that starts hitting, and then it starts selling the previous games that you had released, sort of thing. So how do you weigh, I'm going to spend another year, a ninth year on BardCard versus, okay, BardCard is pretty good. It's selling. Let me get another game under my belt. And I can always come back to update BardCard later. Or maybe I put out a third game. Like, how do you make all those kind of business decisions, I guess?
Yeah, no, this is a great question. The guiding factor for John and I is that if this is fun, we're gonna keep doing it. So we're really just kind of treating it as a hobby, a fun pastime, a creative outlet for both of us. That said, we are charging for the game, so we are interested in, maybe doing more with it at some point. It was a really big struggle on how to price Bard Card when it first came out. What people are playing right now is gosh, I don't even know, maybe only 25% of the whole planned game. So at the, when we were at that pivotal moment a couple years ago when we were like, we have to release something. We've been working on this for too many years. We really just decided, hey, we're gonna cut the story here, and we're gonna get it out there. The price was almost just like a last minute decision. We know we didn't want to make it free, and we know we didn't want to charge a lot because to us the game felt unfinished. And actually, the game that was released originally as to what it is now, there's been so many improvements.
Sure.
Not as much content, but mostly, yeah, just like quality of life things. So yeah, I mean, at the beginning we just charged $2. It started off at 199. And it surprised us. We did zero marketing, and somehow it started selling. At one point, we were featured App of the Day, which was, again, this has been
Oh,
two
nice.
years by
Good.
this
Good.
point. So got a lot of traffic. A lot of people came with opinions. We listened to everything. This is one of my favorite parts of being a game developer, hearing people's experiences and what they liked, what they don't like, how we can make this game better, because it really makes it better for everybody. I mean, I'm so deep into this game when I play it, I don't know if it's fun anymore. I've played it
There.
millions
Yeah.
of times.
Right. Right.
But
Um, it's like, and you don't even probably see, the pitfalls because it's
Mhm.
hard to like read your own work. Like eventually you just stop seeing really what's there on the page. They tell authors that you're supposed to read your book backwards so that you absorb each line individually to know if
Hmm.
it's a good sentence, and not just reading like what you think it says as opposed to what it really says. So that's supposedly a little technique for authors. Um, so where are we going from here? Are we creating BardCard 2, which goes to the next 25% of the game? Are we updating BardCard? Are we trying, throw something out there that's a little different? So you have another genre type of game under your belt. What's the next step for
Yeah,
Rascal?
so many ideas. So currently, what we are doing and what we've been doing for the past, gosh, has it been almost 2 years? It's crazy how time flies. We are building the next installment of Bard Card. So we have them laid out in chapters. So we kind of gave chapter one to the world that's out right now, and then chapter two will be part of the same app. So it's just one single price. We're just continuing to update the app as we go. So that's going to be the next big thing on the horizon, which we're hoping to get out before summer, really. I say this every year though. Every year in the Discord channel, I do like a New Year's message like, "Hey, Happy New Year. We're gonna do this and that. I hope you have a great year, etc." But I'm always like, and I'm sorry we didn't release chapter two again. Uh, Sorry, we're slow and
Now,
busy.
is chapter two going to be like unlock chapter two for 99 cents or a buck 99 or whatever? Or
No,
is it just good?
just part of the game. So what we've been doing, and it's been an interesting experiment, kind of. So I mentioned we started the game at $2. And it was selling. But then I think I forgot where I read on some message board where someone was like, "Man, this game's a steal! Like this is amazing." So I'm like, "Huh, maybe it's too cheap." So I like bump it up to three. After a year of putting in updates. So it's like, it's like, okay, maybe the game is worth $3 now because we've made it so much better. Um, so it's like that's kind of the idea. It's like we kind of like, hey, if you got in on the ground floor, and
You got
you've been with
lucky.
us all these years, yeah, exactly. You paid $2 instead of three or whatever. I mean, it's never going to be like a $10 game, but I could see once we release chapter two, and it's out and stable, yeah, we might bump the price up another buck. Okay, now we feel like this game is actually worth, $5 or whatever it's going to be. But you did mention about like other games and platforms as well. So the whole roadmap in my head, which, again, we're super slow, is get chapter two out. And then we want to get Android out. So React Native, yeah, can compile to iOS. We're on the Apple Store right now. We'd love to get the Android out, which really, hopefully, knock on wood, shouldn't be too much struggle. It's obviously we're going to need a lot of play testing on all fronts. Uh, and then we'll get that out. So then we kind of have like two games on the market. I'd love to look into Steam as well. Like I think we could actually package this as a Steam app. It'll take a little bit of UI work, but I think it could be a lot of fun, and that'd be another audience that would be exposed to BardCard. But yeah, after that, we just have so many ideas. I mean, we could make a sequel to BardCard. We've got different types of games we'd like to make. Like I've got a whole drawer full of notes. There's just too many things, and life is too short. So it's just like, where do I spend my time? Like what? Because it's kind of like balancing what would be like fun for me personally, but also what would just be fun for other folks. Like I know a lot of people are waiting for chapter two. I'm waiting for it too. I've actually been playing chapter two on my phone for, I don't know, a year and a half. It's just not done yet. So-
There's this thing too. Like I have this real kind of frustration of people's, what's the word I want to do? Just like imbalance, right? So here you have BardCard, buck 99 or 2.99, whatever the case may be. 2.99. I'm going to play this game for 10 hours, right, or 5 hours, or however hours of gameplay, all right, is available on this thing. And people are like, 2.99. I don't know if I want to spend 2.99 on a game or 3.99 on a game. That's so expensive. Yet we'll buy a coffee from Starbucks for 5.99 and drink that in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that Starbucks coffee should be $100, or yours should be $100 if was what I mean. Yours should be $100 if Starbucks coffee is going to be $5, right? Um, and I really wish people would kind of say, you know what, yeah, I'll pay 3.99. Kevin's put a lot of work in this. Let me give the guy 3.99 so he keeps making games, and I get a BardCard 2 and maybe some other thing that he's he keeps developing and creating experiences for me. $3.99 is a small price to pay for 8 years of work, right? And so I kind of always seem to come around this in these developer interviews where I just want people to remember that hey, Kevin is a person and he is putting hard work into this and he's thinking about it. He's trying to make the best game for you, and help him do that by supporting him with your $3.99 and put it towards so he can make the next BardCard type game for you. Because if you don't, Kevin's going to go do something else, and he's going to go play guitar and be in a band and do that and get paid to play bars. You'll find something else to do. So please, people, keep supporting developers who are creating these accessible games for you. Now, one of the things that I'm going to throw, because it's really top of my mind. I don't know if you're watching the show 1883, which is like the Yellowstone spinoff.
No.
Yellowstone. Okay,
Yep.
so 1883 is basically this family who is following the Oregon Trail, and facing Indians and crossing rivers and doing all that, which just makes me think of the childhood game Oregon Trail, which I don't know if you played on PC in your elementary school,
Oh, for
which was
sure.
a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I was like, oh man, so watching the show, I'm getting such an itching to play Oregon Trail. And there is not an accessible Oregon Trail game, which blows my mind because
Interesting.
how complex is that game? It's like kind of resource management. Create random events and see if you can make it to the end. Maybe choose one of three paths. Depending which way you want to go. Sort of thing like it. That seems like a game that you could bang out really quickly, and it seems like you'd get a decent amount of sales of just from the nostalgia value of God, I remember playing that and I was doing so well, and then my family comes down with dysentery, or gets bitten by a rattlesnake, and I don't have any snake venom antidote or whatever, or we get attacked by Indians or Native Americans, whatever you want to say it. So that just seems like I just you're a developer. I'm just putting a little earwig in there. Maybe bang out a quick Oregon Trail game for me, and help satisfy that itch. Particularly with Yellowstone in 1883 and 1923, all these shows. I think
Interesting.
it's in the zeitgeist right now. You might get some sales. I did find a game that was about the Oregon Trail, but it was more like a text adventure, choose your own adventure game. It wasn't what Oregon Trail was, which was really kind of resource management. I only got so much money, how much food do I bring versus wagon wheels versus buy auction, and depending if I end up going too slow, then I run out of food, or I get unlucky and I break 3 wagon wheels, but I only purchased 2 wagon wheels for the trip. So all of that can end your trip if you don't have luck to go along with your pre-planning or and the random events that you face. So yeah, I mean, someone like
Yeah.
you, I think you could bang out a quick Oregon Trail game. Just throwing it out there, you'd make a very, very happy Aaron Spelker. So if that means anything to you at all, uh,
No,
you know, make
I
me
love
happy.
it. I actually so yeah, no, I definitely have fond memories of Oregon Trail. I've been kicking around this idea for years. It's not quite on paper, but long time ago, I had this idea of a modern Oregon Trail where like you're somewhere, you and your bunch of friends are on the East Coast somewhere, and you've got to get to Portland, Oregon to go to this show, like this band reunited, and you have to
Right.
go, and you have is like this like kind of broken down car and like three of your buddies, and you've got like 2 days or 3 days to get there. Like, how do you do it? And so it's kind of the same deal where you're kind of driving and just things happen. Maybe your car breaks down, or maybe
Yeah.
you encounter some bandits, or you get sick, or you go to a bar and you drink too much. Like, oh no, we're gonna miss the show. But you also have to keep your happiness meter high. Anyway, so it's kind of you can kind of reminded me of that game idea I've just been kicking around for I don't know a long time. Where it's like, oh, what would that look like?
So let me throw this out here, and to be honest, I don't fully remember all the details of Oregon Trail, but I don't think it had this.
Sure.
You who love to mix and match genres, throw in Oregon Trail, and then when you hit, um, bandits or whatever, or are attacked by Native Americans, make it a turn-based game.
Sure.
And I have this equipment, and I got this protection or these weapons. Against so you add turn-based to the resource management, to the random roguelike the experience. Where it's different every single time you're playing it, with different events that pop up and different situations. You can mix and match that and kind of bring the Oregon Trail to kind of a new level. Maybe even, oh, I stopped out of the fort. Now I can play a card mini game. See if I can make some more money so I can buy some more supplies before I move on to the next
Yeah,
leg of the thing. So here you go.
this
Give
is
you a
it.
mix and match. Yeah,
I,
whoever's listening to game developer. Now it's a race to who can build this faster.
right?
Uh,
It's
I,
out. It's out in the world
yeah,
now.
right. I put it out there. All you have to do is create it. I've done all the hard work for it.
No,
Um,
I love it.
yeah, and then and then maybe it's at the end it's like if you can make it all the way to Oregon, you get a certain higher score than if you have to stop in Colorado, or if you have to,
Sure.
or you don't make it at, if you die along the way, you get very low points. The further you get more points. If you make it all the way to Oregon, you get the most points. And if you make it to Oregon with supplies left over, you get even more points. To determine a leaderboard.
Yeah,
But then see now we're throwing even more. Now you gotta have kind of a multiplayer experience of
there we go.
I get a score and I made 1,000 points, but you made 1,020, and now I got to go play again to try to beat your high score to get back on the top of the leaderboard.
Sure.
All sorts of
Yeah,
stuff. So there you go. Go
done.
create that game
We did it.
in between this and BardCard 2.
On
Um,
it.
all right, and your partner, what is his specialty of what he's? Are you both doing everything, or he focuses on one part versus another, or how do you guys divvy up the
Yeah.
workload?
So we both do a little bit of everything in a sense. So but we take different angles. The only things that we are specializing in are for me, it's the programming. So I write all the code that you experience in the game. And then for him, he's more of a visual artist. So he does all of the graphics, he does the movies, the animations, he does himself. So those are kind of our specialties. But as far as things like music and sound, for instance, he writes most of the music. I write the battle music. I'm a big stickler. Like I grew up with like Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy. Like the battle music's got to sound like that. So we're both pretty musically inclined. I do the sound effects. Story wise, it's interesting how we do the story. So the over like the
But
world.
before you go to the story, sorry, just going back
Yeah,
to like the sound effects. So you're creating those from scratch as opposed to buying like a sound pack.
a little bit of both. I do have a sound pack that I use that I've been using for, gosh, it's been decades at this point. It's probably the same sound pack that I've used even in my Flash days. So I'll kind of pull from there and I'll augment those sounds, either using something just like Bandcamp or what is that? Like something like Audacity to tweak the sounds. But then we'll also record sounds. Actually, a fun tidbit. There is a sound when you open up. Yeah, in BardCard, there are these modals. So if you like double tap on like a weapon, like more information will appear. There's a little whoop sound.
Mhm.
That's actually my girlfriend. I just held up my phone mic to her. I'm like, hey, can you just make a quick like whoop sound? And she just did it. I'm like, okay, that's the sound for the game.
There you
So
go. She's immortalized.
she is.
Right?
But yeah.
So, oh, go ahead, keep going.
Oh, go ahead. And then as far as the story goes, which I think is pretty interesting. So John had the main overarching idea for the entire game. So having the arcade, kind of having two siblings, one of them getting lost in this strange world that's kind of connected to the arcade game that you're playing. And there's all this lore but
You got to
behind
ask
it.
him if you watch Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
I'm gonna ask him. I'm almost certain he did, but I'm gonna yeah, I'm definitely gonna ask him today. And then so he does that, and then he'll create assets for the game. Like I'll be like, so like I'll do so from there. I do like the level design, so more of the detailed things. So I'll be like, okay, we're in this world, we're in this kind of basement area. John, we need this number of characters just so I can populate the world and it's totally free. Like, and he'll just like out of his mind, he'll create like Bianca the Wanderer, and now she's in the game. And then I create like the dialogue around the characters as it relates to what you're supposed to be doing, and then we'll more or less review it together and tweak from there. But it's like totally collaborative. It's been a real cool process.
Excellent. Are you guys like remotely in the same location in the country? Or are you doing this like far apart? And follow up question there is, there's a nice way to keep that friendship, alive and active on a very regular basis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we are far apart. So the last time we lived together, so we're both from Michigan. We're actually born and raised in the lower parts of Michigan. And we went to college together, and then from there we just kind of went our separate ways. Like he did a lot of world traveling, which was really cool. I moved to California because I was looking for work, and there just wasn't really much where I was living. So I've been on the West Coast for yeah, for a long time. And then he's kind of moved around a lot. So we haven't lived in the same city probably since college. So yeah, to your point, this has been a pretty awesome way to keep the friendship alive. We always have things to talk about. We've known each other for so long and have a lot of similar interests, and we just both like exploring and learning new things and like fantasy, all those types of, all the fun things. We play a lot of Magic the Gathering together. We're like that type of friendship.
There
But
you
then
go.
having this extra layer on top where it's like, oh, we're also building something together, which is just something really, really cool and unique. But yeah, we don't see that much each other like face to face. It's probably maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years. But when we get together, it's a real fun time.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming out and telling us about the game and about your background, and we appreciate you taking the effort to make this game accessible, and sounds like you'll make your future games accessible as well. So we thank you in advance for all of that, and tell your partner John, right, John,
Yep.
thank him as well for us. And feel free to come back anytime if you're not part of the group, the Mobile Accessible Games Facebook group. We always invite developers to join that group, and feel free to drop messages in there. When you drop the next part of the game, or when you've done a cool update or whatever, you're always feel free to promote the game in that group to let people know about it. That's always welcome. And again, any closing words or closing pieces of wisdom that you want to leave the group with?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for having me on here. Like it is an honor to be here. Like we are trying hard to make a game that anybody can play. And the fact that pretty much so far anybody that wants to play it has been able to has just been really, really awesome. But it really only happens through feedback. So as you're playing, you might find something that's confusing or doesn't feel like it's working properly, or maybe you found something fun and you're like, hey, like this, do more of this. Please let us know. Like we are 100% listening. Even if it takes me a couple days to get back to you, just because again, this is our part-time job. Yeah, just reach out to us. We've got a website, rascalmagic.com. You can find our Discord. That's probably the easiest way, or you can email us. I think our email address is on there as well. We're not so good at social media just because it's like it's funny. Like you're a game developer, and it's like okay, you're building, you're writing the code, you're doing all the assets or whatever. But then there's this whole layer on top where it's like oh, managing social media and
Mhm.
working with like app store requirements. So there's just like a lot, or like we have internal tools for managing our data. Like BardCard has thousands of objects, so it's like I'm rebuilding that now instead of working on the game. So it's just all these other extraneous things. But we're always listening. So yeah, please reach out. We love hearing from our users.
Well, great. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Aaron.